All right, so get this right. We're talking about the building blocks of the universe, the stuff that, well, makes up everything. And there's this thing, this lead-208 nucleus, and we always thought it was, shaped a certain way.
Okay, yeah.
Perfectly round
Yeah.
a sphere. But guess what? Turns out we might have been wrong.
Oh, this is exciting. I love when we get to shake things up a bit. And you're right, lead-208, it's not just any nucleus. It's really crucial for how we understand heavy elements in general. It's what we call a doubly magic nucleus.
Doubly magic.
Yeah, so that basically means it's super stable, right? Like unusually so, because of the specific number of protons and neutrons it has. It's like, think of it as having this perfectly balanced, really strong internal structure.
Doubly magic. Okay,
Yep.
I like it. But so if it's doubly magic and it's supposed to be so stable,
Right.
why did we always assume it was this perfect sphere? I mean, it sounds intuitive, but what's the science behind that expectation?
Well, a big part of that comes from a model we use called the nuclear shell model. It's an analogy we use to kind of get our heads around how those protons and neutrons or nucleons are arranged within the nucleus.
Okay.
It's similar to how electrons in an atom, they occupy these distinct energy levels or shells, right? Well, in the nucleus, nucleons do the same thing.
Okay.
And when those shells are completely filled, like at these specific magic numbers, the theory goes that it creates a highly symmetrical configuration and the most symmetrical shape. You got it.
Sphere.
I see. So a full set of shells equals perfect balance and a nice round shape.
Right.
So lead-208, with its magic numbers, it all just seemed to fit so perfectly.
Exactly. And for a long time, the experimental data we had, it kind of backed this up. It was a pretty satisfying picture.
Yeah, nice and tidy. But then comes along this new research, and suddenly things aren't so neat and tidy anymore.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. So what we're going to do in this deep dive today is really unpack this. We're going to break down what this surprising discovery is, how the heck scientists figured it out, and why it's so groundbreaking. And we're going to explore what it means for our understanding of, well, pretty much everything.
Ambitious. I like it.
And we're basing this all on some incredible reporting from SciTechDaily.com about this groundbreaking research out of the University of Surrey. And it's stuff, by the way, this is published in Physical Review Letters, so this is serious stuff.
Absolutely. This is cutting-edge science, and it really challenges what we thought we knew about lead-208.
Okay, so no more perfect sphere. What's the new picture? What are we looking at now?
So brace yourself, because instead of that nice round ball, we're now picturing something a bit more elongated. Think of maybe a rugby ball.
Really?
Yeah. To use the fancy scientific term, it's a prolate spheroid. Now, I know it might not seem like a huge deal,
Right.
but at this scale, for something as supposedly stable and symmetrical as a doubly magic nucleus, this shape is a big deal.
Yeah, okay, I'm starting to see that. So wait, if it's not a perfect sphere, doesn't that kind of mess with that whole idea of it being doubly magic and super stable?
That's exactly the puzzle, right? We thought those magic numbers meant perfect symmetry, but now this elongation throws a wrench in the works.
So was there anything, like any hints before that maybe lead-208 wasn't so perfectly round after all?
There were some murmurs in the theoretical world. Some physicists had suggested that even doubly magic nuclei, maybe they could have tiny deformations, especially when they were excited, energized.
Okay.
But these were considered like fringe ideas. The mainstream view was still very much spherical.
Yeah, so how on earth did they figure this out? It's not only they can just, take a microscope and look at it. What kind of wizardry did they use to actually see the shape of this thing?
It is pretty mind-blowing. They used this incredible instrument called GRETINA, the gamma-ray energy tracking array.
GRETINA. Sounds intense.
It is. It's a super sophisticated gamma-ray spectrometer, and it's housed at the Argonne National Laboratory. Basically, it's like a detective, but for gamma rays.
Okay, a gamma ray detective. I like it.
So imagine this. They smashed lead atoms with particle beams traveling at, get this, 10% the speed of light.
Wow, that's like unbelievably fast.
Oh, yeah. We're talking circling the Earth multiple times in a second.
So what happens when these super speedy particles hit the lead?
Well, think of it like giving the lead-208 nuclei a jolt of energy. They get bumped up into what we call excited quantum states.
Okay.
But these excited states, they're not stable. They want to relax back down to their normal or ground state. And when they do, they release that extra energy as gamma rays.
Okay, I'm with you.
Now, here's the crucial part. The energy of these gamma rays and the direction they shoot off in, that tells us a lot about the shape of the nucleus when it was in that excited state. It's like a fingerprint, a gamma ray fingerprint.
So by analyzing these fingerprints, they could figure out what the nucleus looked like. That's pretty incredible.
It is. And to be extra sure, they didn't just do this once. The article mentions that they combined data from 4 different measurements.
Wow, so they really wanted to be absolutely certain.
Absolutely. This wasn't a fluke. And you can bet the researchers were pretty surprised by what they found. Dr. Jack Henderson, he's the lead investigator, and his reaction says it all.
What did he say?
He basically said, straight up, that this finding was a shock, and that their data shows, conclusively, that lead 208 just isn't spherical. He even called our old assumptions naive, which I think really drives home how unexpected this is.
So if the experimentalists are surprised, I bet the theoretical physicists are, well, maybe having a bit of a meltdown.
Yeah, you could say that. Professor Paul Stevenson, he's with the Surrey nuclear theory group, and they're now having to go back and rethink their models.
That's got to be tough, admitting that maybe you got something wrong.
Well, it's the scientific process, right? You have to adapt to new evidence. And Professor Stevenson, he acknowledged that these experiments have showed us that even doubly magic nuclei are more complex than we thought.
So what are they thinking now? How are they trying to explain this weird shape?
Well, one of the main ideas is that the way the lead-208 nucleus vibrates, it might be way more complicated than we initially assumed, especially when it's in those excited states.
Vibrates, like a wobbly jelly or something?
Kind of, yeah. It's not quite like that, but you get the idea. They're essentially exploring whether those vibrations, when the nucleus is energized, are less uniform, less regular.
So more like a wobbly, asymmetrical jelly.
There you go. And they're working on refining their theoretical models to see if this idea actually holds up.
Okay, so I get why this is a big deal for nuclear physics. But for the rest of us, why should we care about the shape of some tiny nucleus?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, first off, it changes how we think about heavy elements in general. Lead-208, it's the heaviest doubly magic nucleus we know of. So understanding it better helps us understand all those other heavy elements, too. And then there's the whole question of how heavy elements are even created in the first place. We're talking about events like supernovae.
Exploding stars?
Exactly, or neutron-star mergers. Those are some of the most extreme environments in the universe, and they're where heavy elements are forged.
It's amazing to think that something happening in a lab here on Earth can tell us about what's going on out there in space.
It really is, and there are implications for our understanding of nuclear stability, too. If lead-208, the poster child for stability, can be a bit wonky, it suggests we might need to rethink what makes a nucleus stable in the first place.
Oh, like our whole understanding of stability could be wrong.
Well, maybe not wrong, but definitely incomplete. And this ties into something even more fundamental: quantum mechanics, the rules that govern the universe at the smallest scales. This new shape gives theorists a whole new set of data to play with, which could lead to better quantum models of how nuclei behave.
So lots to think about. But before we get lost in all the implications, can we just recap what we've learned about lead-208?
Sure. So the big news is that lead-208, long thought to be a perfectly round sphere, actually appears to be elongated, at least in certain excited states.
No, a perfect sphere?
Nope. And this discovery challenges decades of nuclear theory. It was made possible by some really advanced experimental techniques, like using GRETINA to analyze the gamma rays emitted by lead-208 nuclei after they were smashed with high-speed particles. And now, theoretical physicists are scrambling to explain this unexpected shape, with some focusing on the idea that nuclear vibrations might be more complex than we thought.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. It's kind of mind-boggling.
It really is, but that's what makes science so exciting, right? We're always learning new things, even about things we thought we understood.
Yeah, I guess that's true. And you know what? It makes you wonder, if we were wrong about something as fundamental as the shape of a nucleus, what else might we be wrong about?
Ooh, that's a good one. What other seemingly solid scientific ideas might be waiting to be overturned? Really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It makes you realize that science is always evolving. We should never stop questioning, never stop pushing the boundaries of what we know.
Couldn't agree more. Who knows what other surprises are out there just waiting to be discovered?
Yeah, who knows? So, if you're listening out there, maybe this is your cue to go out and explore, to ask your own questions, to challenge the status quo. Who knows what incredible discoveries you might make? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, keep questioning everything.
Absolutely, keep those brains buzzing.
That's all for today, folks. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.